All right. Good evening, everybody. We are here at AFT. We are talking about Star Trek Discovery like we do every Thursday night. And tonight we are talking about episode 9 of season 3, which is Terra Firma Part 1. So let's get into the discussion and say hello to a couple of very special guests.
Hello.
Hi.
Holy smoke.
It's us.
How are you guys doing?
Good.
Yeah, doing well.
All right. So Chuck and Veronica. Do
Yeah.
you usually go by Chuck or Charles?
Usually Charles online, Chuck in my real life. Either. I'll answer to both.
Excellent. All right, Charles Chuck. Okay. All right. So you guys, this is your first time joining me on this little shindig that I do every Thursday night.
Yeah.
And for people who might not know you, you guys are the geniuses behind the local puppet show Felt Nerdy, which I'm sure people have seen at all number of conventions.
Yeah, we in the non-pandemic years, we do a lot of conventions. Usually by now we would have done probably 12 or 13 convention shows in Georgia, Tennessee, and Alabama. This year we managed to get 2 in before the gates fell down.
That's good.
February was good.
Right. Exactly. What are some of the shows that you've done?
We do a lot of Star Trek shows, a lot of Doctor Who shows, and then some sort of general nerdiness shows. We did one for the anniversary of the space program where involving Batman, Mike Nesmith, and Mr. Spock.
Well, of course.
The ones you'd expect.
Right.
And, yeah, we do a full-length show called Bad Reboot that sort of has fun with the new J.J. Abrams Star Trek movies, and we do a lot of Doctor Who stuff as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And we've been doing Monsterama 2
right.
years.
We've been a few years at Monsterama now, doing sort of Universal Monster-inspired, not trademarked characters.
So every time a new convention pops up in the area, are you like, oh God, now we have to make new puppets?
No, we're sort of parked in their driveway, peeking through the bushes, waiting for them to let us in.
Nice. All right, so let's dig into tonight's episode, Terra Firma Part 1. Without getting too spoilery quite yet, both of you tell me your overall impression of tonight's episode.
Do you want to go first?
No.
Okay. I'll say
that action.
I know in season 1, I very much did not like the Mirror Universe arc on Discovery, and I haven't liked Georgiou up until this season, but I'll say I very much enjoyed this episode.
Yeah.
And I thought tonight was a lot of fun.
Excellent. Veronica.
I've always enjoyed a lot of the Mirror Universe shows. I mean, especially DS9, but even the ones from earlier in the series. I always really enjoyed the Mirror Universe and seeing the same people, but not the same people.
Mm-hmm.
So it was kind of fun to see basically the entire cast, where you don't usually see that in a lot of the Mirror episodes.
I gotta say, man, tonight was a doozy. I mean, there was a lot of, just unexpected stuff that happened.
Yeah. I thought that watching it, like, I don't know what's going to happen next.
Exactly.
Not expecting the Mirror Universe Cirque du Soleil, just
I know, right?
Turns I wasn't expecting.
I mean, we get a Q-like figure.
Right.
We get a surprise revisit to the Mirror Universe.
Yeah.
We get Cirque du Soleil. I mean, this episode was all over the map.
Kelpians turned up.
Right. Kelpians. On both sides of the mirror.
Yeah.
And a lot of old characters got thrown at us in very nonchalant kind of ways.
Yeah.
On that topic, as I was watching the closing credits, I've only got to see the episode once all the way through. On the closing credits, I noticed Hannah Cheeseman's name.
Interesting.
I didn't see her. Of course, she obviously wasn't all dolled up as Arium.
Right.
So I'll have to go back and watch again to see if I can spot her.
Yeah, I'm wondering if she was in like that the scene where they all come into like the bar area.
She's got to be.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't read the credits either. I'm wondering if I'd assumed it was the same actress that played Saru's sister, but if Hannah Cheeseman's good under prosthetics, maybe she was the Kelpian.
No, it was the same actress that played Saru's sister.
Okay. And I was right the first time.
You were. All right. So where should we start? This is kind of a crazy, crazy episode. we open with Giorgio obviously going through a continuation of what we've seen in the last few episodes.
Yeah.
But now she's like, unable to sort of like maintain corporeal form, where she's like, her hand passes through. I mean, it only happens once. She passes through a wine glass or whatever, and then she can smack people and have fights with them and stuff after that. And she has no. So I thought that was a really interesting thing, especially like in the big fight scene with Michael. It would have been nice to see a couple of times where she just like throws a punch and her fist goes right through Burnham's head or something.
Yeah. Or if her hand had gone through Tilly's soup bowl, and that'd be frustrating. Ruining the big moment.
Right. Exactly. How did she know that was going to be? Maybe it was force of will. Maybe it was hatred that solidified her. I don't know.
Yeah.
All right, so let me see if I've got any comments so far. By the way, anybody watching, if you have questions or comments, drop them in the comment section below and we will address them. Tony Cade calls this Star Trek meets the Twilight Zone.
I had that thought also. It was a little Twilight Zone-y with the door and the guy in the bowler hat. I've seen some people compare it to Doctor Who also, sort of Time Lordish, sort of John Pertwee style Time Lords that turn up in bowler hats and have powers.
But kind of like you said earlier, Alan, it's kind of like a Q as well.
But Star Trek has a long history of omniscient aliens who take the form of humans in goofy historical costumes.
But you're right; it does bear a strong resemblance to, and it happened at the beginning of John Pertwee's second season, Terror of the Autons. A Time Lord figure appears and sends him on a mission, and warns him the master's coming, or whatever the hell he says. And very bowler hat. It was very similar aesthetic.
Yeah, the lone door though does make you think of the Twilight Zone.
Exactly right. And this Q, or whatever he is, comes completely armed with a whole battery of dad jokes.
Yeah,
that was interesting. Okay, so let's talk about that. Do we think it's a Q? Is it likely to be something different? If not Q, what is it?
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, my thoughts were some sort of advanced technology on the planet that's taking the form of this guy, or a non-corporeal being that's just hanging out here for whatever reason. They're a little vague on that, and I guess they just took it for granted that the sphere data was steering them in the right direction and didn't ask for more details of why they're going to this planet.
Yeah, exactly. So it was nice of the sphere data. Oh, that's another thing. The sphere data gave them a little map, and they follow the map to wherever they're supposed to be, which I thought was interesting. If this guy can just appear, why do they have to go to a certain spot?
Right.
Because I wanted to show you the scenery.
I mean, it was lovely scenery.
It was.
Yeah. I mean, I'm all about location work on Star Trek.
Yes.
Unless there was like a point on the planet surface where there's like a natural gateway from one dimension to another, like the wall between the dimensions is weaker at that point or something. I don't know.
Yeah. So they had to like walk through it or something.
That's another thought too. Do we think that she's really gone back in time to the mirror universe, or is this something that she's just experiencing?
That's true. That's a good point.
There are some differences in the timeline there.
Yeah.
Especially with Stamets.
Oh yeah, especially. Tony Cade also comments that the mirror universe rules, which I agree it does. And Amanda says winged eyeliner is the new goatee. That's hilarious. Oh, that's good. So yeah, Giorgio steps through this doorway. Where does it lead? It does not lead. It follows. Okay. So, and that maybe that's a clue.
Yeah.
Is it like, if the doorway follows, is it going to portray whatever is most on your mind when you walk through?
Sure.
Are you the one that's setting the parameter for what you experience once you walk through?
Sort of showing you what you need to see.
What you need to see. Exactly. I liked the little scene. Well, we'll get into the mirror stuff heavily in a minute, but I liked the scene of Saru and Tilly saying goodbye to Giorgio, just in case.
Yeah, I'm not sure I buy the hug from Tilly.
I was a little surprised by that myself.
It's sort of, if Hitler was hanging out at my job for a few months, I don't know if I'd hug him on the way out.
Well, Hitler did do some good things. I mean, he got the trains to run exactly on time and apparently wiped out illiteracy.
Well,
So, there are some positives.
You don't mess with my lunch, though, Hitler. You got to draw the line somewhere.
Exactly right. Oh, Wendy is here, and she apologizes for being late.
Apology accepted.
All right, so mirror universe. Well, actually, no. Let's back up a little bit and talk about the nebula.
Okay.
And we now know that the signal that they've been detecting that matches the harmony or the melody that's been playing on the cello and all this kind of stuff is from a Kelpian ship from 100 or so years ago. Where do we think this is leading us?
I'm not sure, but I'm glad it's something interesting and something that looks like it's going to have some real character involvement for Saru.
Yeah.
There's a lot of fan theories that have been going around, none of which sounded particularly interesting to me. So what they came up with, I'm interested in. What are these Kelpians doing?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm anxious to see Saru seeing his people as a spacefaring race. So a lot of potential there, I think.
Before this revelation, what were you expecting to find in the nebula? Where did you think that the story was taking us?
I thought we were going to go back to that short trek, which is the name of the episode I said earlier, and now have completely and totally forgotten.
Calypso.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought that was going to be. I thought it was going to be Calypso.
Yeah.
High in there.
I mean, they've certainly been leading little breadcrumbs toward that.
Yeah.
Especially an episode or two back where the ship computer just suddenly takes on the personality of the AI and talks to Saru and says, "You know what? You should have a movie night," or whatever it says.
Yeah. And they threw the term vibration there earlier in the season, sort of
definitely
little tie-ins, but then thrown a little bit when they refit Discovery, which doesn't look like Calypso anymore. So I was wondering, is there another Discovery? But with this show, though, it could have been Michael Burnham's dad. They've done stranger things. So I'm glad that it's something I wasn't expecting, and I didn't see any speculation on it, and it's something that could be interesting.
That's true. There's been a lot of speculation about this, whether it be a discovery from a different point or a different dimension, and all kinds of things. But a Kelpian ship is not one that really anybody came up with. So that was a nice little, out of left field.
Yeah.
There were people expecting it to be something to do with Michael or Michael's mother or whatever.
Yeah. Or the ISS Discovery could have been that maybe they jumped forward somehow too. Yeah. There's a lot of different things it could have been.
So when Giorgio walks through this doorway, were you expecting to get Mirror Universe episode tonight?
I was not. Were you?
I'm not surprised, but I wasn't really expecting it either.
Yeah.
And she took one step and was in full regalia in the middle of a scene. So, whoa.
Yeah.
What's going on here?
Right. Which kind of makes you think that it maybe is all in her mind.
Yeah.
I was really looking forward to seeing what Burnham was going to see when she stepped through, because I was almost half expecting she was going to step through and nothing was going to happen.
Oh, no, that would have been interesting. But it is good that we got Mirror Burnham.
Yeah.
Which we didn't see any of in first season.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I know how they do it, but I'm still always surprised when their hair changes so drastically from scene. Wow, where did her hair go? I know, but still.
We've got some other comments from the audience, but I've got one that my buddy Josh texted me earlier that I can't display on screen, but I'm going to read to you.
Okay.
And it's kind of a long one. Discovery needs to figure out what the hell kind of show it wants to be. This left field two-parter would have been great in the TNG days when you had 22 episodes a season, but you've spent 2 years training us to expect each Disco season to be one long story. Keep playing around with this Burn story. Finally, we get some forward movement on that. And now you have time for a 2-part Mirror Universe episode. So he told me that he did enjoy this episode a lot. It just seems like you're derailing the train that you've set on a particular track.
Sure. A little detour maybe, but I like that though. I think this is the first episode this season where I didn't already have a good expectation of what it was going to be, at least tonally and sort of general plot wise.
Mm-hmm.
It sort of this next week we're going to Trill, next week we're going to Starfleet, and to sort of have an idea of what's going to happen next week. And this week I had no idea. It was a little bit like he's right, like the old days where next week could be anything.
It was interesting that the trailer last week really focused on Michelle and Sonequa, where it kind of leads you to believe that the whole episode is basically going to be a two-hander with those two characters, and it ends up being much more of an ensemble piece set in two different universes. So it was a really interesting trailer that it didn't give you really any hint at all, as to what was coming. That was great.
Yeah, and something we kind of skipped over too is that there's a lot of great stuff at Starfleet with Admiral Vance and Kovich. And I thought Vance was great. I'm ready for Saru to get past his training wheel stage and become a great captain. But I know they're building towards that. But I thought Vance was great.
And by Vance, you mean
the Admiral at Starfleet?
No, you mean Admiral Silver Fox.
Yes.
There you go. Let me see who else is saying stuff. Wendy says that she didn't buy that goodbye. The Tilly and
I neither did I, but it
seemed very forced. Saru was very diplomatic, and Tilly's nah.
Because
all right. Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
No, I'll go right ahead.
No, you go, and I'll read a question in a minute.
Well, I was just gonna say because George Jo's just been a dick to her all year.
Yes, and just shoved soup in her face, basically.
George says, it was almost a wonderful life, re-seeing the past with her new eyes. 5% chance she learns her lesson and therefore worthy of being saved.
Well, I think they're pretty, it's pretty obvious that she's different, that they're sort of highlighting that
they are, absolutely.
She's going through the motions, but she doesn't feel quite the same anymore like she used to.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, the reaction that she had to Michael saying, well, by the way, I poked their eyes out and I cut their hands off. So, they'll never make any art again. That was a nice moment.
Yeah.
For both characters, I thought.
Yeah.
I think so too.
It was definitely something I would have heard Giorgio say in season 1.
Exactly right.
That's a good point.
Exactly.
And now she's like, you did what?
Since this is you guys' first time on the show, let's back up just a tiny bit and kind of give me what you thought of season 3 up till now. Like, what's your season 3 journey been like?
I mean, I like season 2 with Pike and all the colors so much.
Yes. Yeah.
But I've really enjoyed the tonal shift where there's still a lot of serious, but they're having more fun with the serious now.
Yeah. And they're making a point every week to have a little Star Trek adventure along with the storyline, which is good. I've had a very rocky relationship with Discovery the first 2 years, but this year so far, I've been pleasantly surprised every week. And I was just watching Discovery. We always have Star Trek on when we go to bed, and I had Discovery on last night, which is usually it's Deep Space Nine or Next Gen. So that was a nice change.
Was it something from this season or?
Yeah. I put it on the episode of Trill, and then I woke up and we were at Vulcan. So
halfway across the galaxy in one nap.
Right.
I mean, that's kind of how the Discovery works. So,
Right. Tony says that we're leading up to Saru pulling a Burnham. That thought kind of crossed my mind, where he's like, Tilly says, should we inform the Admiral? And he says, well, Admiral's got other things on his mind. Let's do our thing and present him with more information.
Yeah, and last time he countermanded my order in front of the crew, so I'm just not going to tell him now.
That's a good
There's
point.
That too.
Wendy says, I was rather confused by this episode, which you'll discuss in, I'm assuming there's a continuation there. No, maybe not. Amanda says, it's interesting that it turned out to be a Kelpian ship because Saru seemed to hear the signal in a special way in a previous episode. That's true. I wonder if there's a connection with him being more tuned to different sounds. And I wonder, we still have the mystery of the melody.
Yeah.
Obviously, Saru doesn't recognize that melody other than we've heard this in 2 other places now, once we've come to the future. So it's not traditionally Kelpian, at least.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. The melody thing, I really haven't. It hasn't really intrigued me yet. It seems a little bit forced. I don't know. If you go to the future and you hear two different people singing the same song, it's magic.
One of my regular guests, Vandy Beth, a week or two ago said, and it doesn't seem that unusual that people from different places know the same song. I mean, it could have been Happy Birthday.
Right. You both know the Beatles?
That's
possible.
I mean, depending on what universe you're in, that might be amazing.
Exactly. Patrick asks, what about the Guardian person with the time dimension door? Yep. Our people online have been speculating that he says his name is Carl, that maybe it's spelled Qarl.
I'd be happy if it was just something new.
I know.
I know it's always fun to see old things coming back, but I don't need a new Q. I like the old Q. If you're gonna have Q in a bowler hat, John Delancey, he's got a phone, you know. But I'd be perfectly happy if it was just some planet.
Yeah. So speaking of old things coming back, we got a return of Landry from season 1.
Different actress, though. I think maybe they had her.
No, same actress. Yeah,
was she credited?
Yeah, Rekha
there
Sharma.
Were several. Okay, well, there were several close-up where she does not look like herself.
Well, you know, she's 3 years older than she was in season 1. I guess.
True. I've seen her on TV since then, but yeah, okay. we were talking. We were talking about that during the show.
Yeah. It's also been a one time I've seen season.
It's also surprising that Rekha Sharma would be back and she doesn't have any lines, basically. Maybe a line.
Yeah, it was a small part. And I'm expecting a lot of the stuff that we saw tonight is going to be a bigger part next week.
Yeah.
And speaking of that, okay, we're just going to jump into the big thing that I expect to happen next week. With Lorca's name mentioned as many times as it was, how likely on a scale of 1 to 10 do you think that we are going to have Lorca in next week's episode?
You want to go first?
I'm gonna say like a 5 sounds like
I'll give it a 6. I feel like if Lorca was back, he would have been the end of episode teaser of Lorca stepping out.
I was kind of expecting that myself.
I would expect more of a marketing push if Jason Isaacs was back on the show. It's possible. They did mention him several times.
I mean, it was like everything they said.
Yeah.
You and Lorca are plotting against me. Wendy says that I think it's all in her mind, like some way to reconcile the past. But once she does it, what then? Then she goes off and stars in the Section 31 show.
Yeah, we still don't know when and what universe that takes place in. I mean, this season I kept feeling like they were building up towards it being a 32nd Century show with maybe Kovich would be the guy she's reporting to and Emerald Chain involved and things like that. But
absolutely.
Then they took a weird left turn. So I don't know. She could be hanging out with Door Guy.
And, you know, originally I fully expected that it was going to be a 23rd century thing, that it would take place after in the time frame after Discovery leaves for the future, and it would have Ash Tyler and it would have the Klingons and all that kind of stuff, and that's where it was going to reside.
Right.
And then she gets on Discovery and shunts off to the future, and you're like, well, what the hell now?
Yeah, well, she needs to just go back to the 24th century, team up with Garrick, and it would be a great show.
Yeah,
I'm behind that idea.
They could totally get him back too. He would totally do it.
Oh yeah,
he's already doing it basically.
Patrick speculates that maybe alternate Burnham caused the burn. One way or another, the effing burn is going to relate to her because it's right there. It's right there in the name. They're not being subtle about it at all. Now, I don't know for sure that that's the case, and
that's certainly a possibility, Patrick. I would be very pleased if she had nothing to do with the burn other than being the one to figure it out.
Yes.
Yeah, totally. I'm kind of hoping and I'm kind of halfway expecting that them calling it the burn is them saying, you fuckers are going to think that this is all about Burnham, and we're going to pull the rug out from under you.
Good. I hope they do.
Fingers crossed.
I do too. Because last year, this Red Angel nonsense cropped up, and I'm like, the Red Angel is going to be Michael Burnham.
Right.
And they tried to psych you out by revealing that it was her mother.
Right.
And you're like, okay, so maybe not. But then they turn it back around and it ends up being Michael Burnham after all. So
Yeah. Well,
we can have a large conversation about that particular thing.
that's why I actually cheered when her mother turned up as a Romulan warrior nun
Yes.
because it wasn't her. Like, she's off the list.
okay. Wendy addresses Josh's point that I mentioned a minute ago. I agree. I'm like, on this season, trying to figure out what it's going for individually. Okay. So yeah, it's a little bit of confusion about how all these pieces are going to be coming together.
I hope they do come together.
Oh, don't you think? Sure they will.
Hope so.
Yeah.
Every episode is sort of a trepidation of, are they gonna do it this time? Is this the landmine? But so far, we're making it.
And the landmine is the 2 points in the previous 2 seasons where the show sort of left you behind a little bit.
Yeah.
Where it like suddenly took a turn and you're like, eh.
Yeah, I like the first 2 seasons up to about the halfway point, and then they take weird turns, and for me, the quality falls off and the storylines fall apart. But different people have different feelings on that. But if they could just tell a great story that I get to the end and I'm like, wow, that was a well told story, and I had a good time, then I'll be pleased.
I enjoyed the Red Angel stuff quite a bit. Once it got into the control thing, it started to get a little crazy.
Yeah.
Yes.
But I didn't mind it. I didn't. It got a little convoluted as far as I'm concerned. Not like confusingly, but just like cluttered.
Yeah.
Like they're layering so much stuff onto it.
And I think a lot of that is going through 3 showrunners over the course of a 15-episode story arc.
Yeah.
Which no matter what job you're in, if you have a new boss every 2 months, it's going to be difficult. So I'm glad they've had the consistency behind the camera this year.
Right, and I think that it's apparent on screen this season.
Yeah.
That it's a more consistent team behind the production.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah.
And I've said this a couple of times on our previous episodes, but I was very excited to learn that Michelle Paradise was going to be coming on as one of the showrunners this year because I thoroughly enjoyed the 2 episodes that she wrote last year.
Yeah, I thought that her first episode last year was the Daedalus Project.
Yes.
The Lower Decks characters just sort of came alive in that episode. Suddenly they were all characters, which they hadn't, to me, been up to that point. So I think if she can write characters like this every episode, we're going to be in for a great show.
Everybody who watches this on a regular basis knows that I'm going to harp at least one time per show about the junior bridge characters because I love them. And anytime they get given a line of dialogue, I'm so excited. And, and I've been thrilled this season at the continuing plot line that Detmer has had.
Yeah.
Big fan of that. And I want to see more of that kind of thing with the other characters. I'm waiting for a good, multi-episode arc for Owo. And, so, do you watch the after show that Will Wheaton?
Yep.
Oh, yes.
Yeah, we do.
I haven't seen it yet, but I know that all my bridge characters.
Yeah, they're delightful to watch.
Yeah.
I did feel a little bad. Reese mentioned, the actor who plays Reese mentioned that he had a great line he had. He said the line, well, that was your only line, I think. But I'm glad you gave it your all, man.
Right, exactly. Okay, Tony says, the Mirror Universe fits at any time. The Mirror Universe story was my favorite Enterprise episode. Not surprisingly, because that was a damn good episode. Amanda says, I really think it might be that too. Or like the first episode of Next Gen and the trial with Q. But with a slightly less silly costume. I like the bowler hat. I wasn't too big a fan of the
slightly
weird...
less iconic class.
Yeah,
you have that.
I'm not sure Carl could have pulled off those robes. He's good to stick with the bowler hat.
All right. She also says, I feel like Carl hesitated pretty heavily before giving the name Carl, like he was making it up on the fly.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of felt that same way too. All right, what else we got here?
Those jokes he had ready, though. He's been holding those jokes for a long time.
Oh, he was planning those. He's like, oh, when are these chicks going to get here so I can do my comedy bit? It was great.
Did you
That was
notice
the
that
wrong
his,
people for the comedy bits.
his newspaper was the Star Dispatch, which was the same newspaper from City on the Edge of Forever? Which I
Yep.
thought was a nice touch.
Yep, I'm glad you mentioned that because I kind of forgot to bring that point up. But yeah, that was cool. And I really want to see, that they put all kinds of funny things in the
Yes.
prop that they made. It's not just the headline. I want to see what the rest of it.
Well, we had it. I paused it and backed it up because on the back of it there was little things about Edith Keeler's mission and let me help. And yeah, there's.
Nice.
I need to find some good freeze frames of it.
I want to do the crossword puzzle that was on the back page too.
It's going to tell you who caused the burn.
Oh, and that's going to be the key to the whole season.
She's solving it right now while George Joe's through the door.
Okay, let's see. Amanda says the world always needs more Garrick. Any way we can get more Garrick, this show is lacking in sass. And that's because they don't have Janet or Jet Reno in every episode.
Yeah.
That's my favorite character. And she's only does like 5 episodes a season or whatever.
Yeah, I wish that she would want to be a regular because she would have been a great first officer to play off of Saru.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to.
I know.
She just wants to do her little, recurring bit and she's happy with that. And it kills me because I would do a whole spin-off show with Jet Reno.
I want a spin-off show with the time soldier Beetle Geistian.
Right? That was really good. I loved that moment in the trailer. The only really thing that they gave away about this week's episode in that trailer was that one quick shot of him in the TNG uniform. And you're like,
right.
Whoa, TNG uniform.
Wait, what am I watching?
Yeah, exactly. Tony says Giorgio should have killed Burnham. Being a better person doesn't help you in the Terran Empire. That is the truth.
Yeah.
I'm also wondering if she was like not being a better person, but like this is what she did last time and this is where she's at and she only has a 5% chance to live. And is this something I can do to change? Is this part of my 5%?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but also she killed Burnham even though she didn't want to mirror Burnham,
right?
And but now she's had to live with it for several years, and now having to do it again.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I loved the sort of parallel between her taking that action in their fight in the gym, and then her taking that action again, but even closer in the mirror. But both times the precision of that swing where she stops at exactly the point where she wants to. And I just thought that was a great little touch.
We need to practice that.
No. Practice that on one of our dummies.
I was going to say, I think it's something for the puppet show.
Yes.
Let's see. Amanda says, and that wasn't the version of Burnham that would have appreciated being spared anyway, so I don't understand what she's trying to do by sparing her. It's just another illustration of how much Giorgio has changed being away from her native universe and in our world.
Yeah.
Being stuck on Discovery has affected her more than she's willing to admit.
And I enjoyed her with Mirror Saru, not eating him this time and instead talking to him.
Yes. Yes, absolutely.
And Doug Jones is great in those scenes.
Yes.
Oh, man, he's phenomenal. My favorite Mirror Universe was when Worf had Garrick on a dog chain.
Spawning a million fanfics.
Oh, yeah. And Amanda says, I want futuristic version of This Old House with Jet Reno. Jet Reno and her duct tape.
Yeah, this old starship and her little drones.
Wendy points out that Philippa has grown a conscience. Exactly right.
Yeah. Well, she's seen a different way of living your life for the first time.
Mm-hmm.
Where it's not dog eat dog every day of your life.
Right. Where it's not Terran eat Kelpian every day of your life. Okay, so what else have we not covered yet? I want to mention just quickly how cool I think the costume work is in the Mirror episodes. And I saw your post, and I think you mentioned the Art Deco look of the... Yeah,
there's a very sort of Metropolis Art Deco vibe to their costumes and her crown and a lot of the set dressings and stuff that I didn't pick up on that the in season 1, but I picked up on it a lot this week.
Mhm.
Yeah, I think it's a really cool look, and it has that sort of 1920s industrial look a bit to it, but in a sci-fi way.
Yeah.
I'm ready to start seeing Emperor Giorgio cosplayers with that amazing crown.
Yes.
That sounds dangerous at DragonCon.
Yes. Don't wear that at DragonCon, please. Except for like during the costume contest.
Make the spikes out of foam, please.
Yes.
George says the crown was amazing.
Yes.
I haven't watched as I mentioned before, I haven't watched the Ready Room episode yet, but I did jump through to the end of it to see the scene from next week's episode. So I saw a little bit of the costume designer talking about the mirror universe look. So I'm really excited to watch the rest of that and see what she says.
Yeah.
They've had her on, this is maybe the third time.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've had her on a couple times.
But deservedly, I think she's been doing great work.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Especially this season, I think the costume has been wonderful.
Yeah, agreed. Wendy says, Ready Room has a segment with the costume. There you go. Director talking about designing those mirror units. Yes, they certainly do.
Sorry, I'm reading the next comment.
The crown would enforce social distancing. Oh, that's fantastic. Okay, so what I wanted to talk about was I mentioned the secondary bridge officers. I gotta say, well, first of all, it was nice to see Captain Killy again,
or for the first time.
Well,
did we ever see actual Killy?
That's true. Yeah. But the other thing is, in season 1, Owo was we already had established that she was the commander of the honor guard that follows Giorgio around everywhere she goes until the end of I think the fourth or fifth episode, and she like disintegrates her because of one little mistake. So I was very glad to see her back in place. Like, this is an earlier point,
right? And
it was nice to see her. And I'm just gonna this is a sexist comment, and I'm ashamed of myself for saying it, but I think she is like the most beautiful woman I've ever seen. And that look of hers in the mirror universe with the hair is different and the uniform, God, she's amazing.
Yeah, she's working that mirror universe thing.
And I love seeing her get a little action scene, like her and Reese having the little, Uhura and Sulu battle.
Yeah.
That was awesome.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Wendy says, I noticed the teeny tiny size of the costumes because of how small Yo is. What? Sorry, I don't get that.
Yeah, they described her on the Ready Room as a tiny giant because her personality is so big, but she's so small. So,
I see.
I think physically she's a small person with small costumes. But
I see. I see. That's the thing I have not seen yet. Okay, so any last thoughts about this one and any points that we did not cover? And what are your thoughts about the trailer that we saw for next week?
Yeah, next week looks like it's continue. I just hope they follow this up with something that's an interesting resolution to it. I hope. I really enjoyed the character work going on this week, so I hope that continues on to next week. And I'm intrigued now by what's going on with this Kelpian ship in the nebula, which I don't expect to get answers to next week.
Yeah,
but they're moving in a good direction, and I'd be pleased if Carl was something new. But well, I guess we'll find out.
I'm really hoping that next week is as a surprise as this week was.
Yeah.
Like, even though we got a good solid trailer for next week, that it isn't really telling us what next week is going to be like.
Yeah. For all we know, she could resolve the mirror universe thing in the first 10 minutes and then be on to something else.
That's absolutely true.
I guess we'll see.
And the rest of the episode is just them in the snow with Carl.
Building snowmen.
Okay.
With little bowler hats.
All right. So what we do each week is we do a rating for this episode, 1 through 10. And it's always like 1 out of 10 somethings from the episode. And I apologize for not like cluing you into that beforehand so you could think of a thing. So you can just give me your 1 through 10 if you like.
No, I'll go 8. You're the Betelgeuse time soldiers.
Awesome. Okay. 8. That's a pretty good score. Veronica, what do you think?
So the first thing that popped into my head was 7 quarks.
Quarks? Quark was not.
He wasn't even in the episode. I know, but that's what popped into my head first. So I'm gonna go with that.
Okay.
Actually, one last comment that I want to get in. Actually, 2. Because I just saw it is a topic that we did not talk about. I want to see more Adira. Really wondering what's going on with Gray. I do feel like this week Adira was there, but we didn't really get anything new. Like there wasn't any progression in her storyline.
Yeah, a little more of like last week with the with Stamets being paternal to them. But I would like for Gray to become corporeal, and we can stop with the talking to ghosts.
Something has. I think it was when they were on Ready Room last week that it sounds like they're going to be. I mean, by they, I mean both characters are going to be around for for next season.
Yeah, and I don't see how you get the ghost only she can see. She's like the Al Calavici now of this Discovery. So I assume that they'll do sort of like they did with Culber and realize like, oh, this character shouldn't be dead after all, and just make Gray alive.
Yeah, they'll find a way. Adira is a genius one moment, then dumb the next. I wish they would even them out. Okay, but she's 14 years old. Right. I mean, I don't find that to be at all out of character. I find that to be sort of like a natural. I mean, she is a genius, but she's still just a kid.
Wesley Crusher was the same way.
Yeah.
But somehow she's far less annoying.
Yeah, I think so too.
Sorry, they are far less annoying.
Yeah.
My bad. 7 shattered shards from the cracked mirror. And so he gave it a 7. Wendy gives it a 6. 6 out of 10 healthy fajitas.
Okay.
And Amanda says 8 omniscient beings. All right. So I'm going to give it, and I didn't even think of a thing from the episode to rate it, but I'm going to give it 8.5. 8.5 Captain Killies.
That would be an entertaining episode.
Yeah, it would.
Wouldn't it though? And one last one. Adira was distraught about Gray. That would be distracting. Exactly. Yeah. And especially at that age, I mean, those kind of situations are like emotionally tumultuous for me now. When you're 14 or 16 or whatever she is, whatever they are, God, I can't get used to that. I'm so sorry. My apologies to everyone.
It's new. It's getting used to it.
Yeah. I don't think that's, I think that's perfectly in line with being a 16-year-old, Yeah.
Your boyfriend didn't call. He's supposed to have called. Very dramatic.
Exactly. All right. So, I kind of ran this one a little shorter than I normally do because, there's something that I would like to talk about. Where did I put it? Okay. First of all, I just want to show this is where people can find you.
Yep. Which right now just redirects to our Facebook page until we get a new website built. But yep, we're at Felt Nerdy. Content's been a little light this year as we're sort of realigning the way we do things. But we should have new content coming up soon. Start doing some online content soon.
That's exciting. And then there's another thing that we have coming up. Yep. And the reason that I asked you guys onto the show and our friend Keith, who was not able to be here because he's still on season 2 of Discovery, and he should dial in like now, and we'll just talk about where he is at Discovery because he was going to start season 2 last night, and I'm so anxious to know what he thought about the first couple of episodes.
Yeah.
But anyway, so we have a project coming up.
We do. We've been hard at work.
Tell us about
Especially this one.
Yep, we're working on a Star Trek podcast called Earth Station Trek. Look at
that.
Yeah, this is a work in progress logo.
That he made.
That Chuck made based on the Gold Key Star Trek comics.
Yep, and It's the four of us just talking about Star Trek, sometimes getting pretty serious about it, sometimes getting pretty silly about it. That's why we keep Veronica around. And just having a good time so far.
And we are expecting this to launch sometime in January, we hope.
Yeah, that's the plan. We've got a few episodes recorded, and I'm getting into editing and that kind of stuff now, and we're all sort of hard at work getting everything together, so we're ready to launch it. But yeah, I'd say that this year I've had more fun with new episodes of Star Trek than in 20 years. Probably since Deep Space Nine ended for me. We've got
Lower Decks.
33 new episodes of Star Trek coming out this year, all of them taking place after Nemesis, which is a first for
that's
we've
true.
had 20 years of prequels and reboots and reimaginings, and we're moving forward now, and I've enjoyed them all to one degree or another. It's so sort of channeling that energy into the new project has been fun, and just getting enthusiastic about it.
So just quickly, what were your thoughts about Lower Decks? Did you enjoy it?
Oh my gosh, so much.
I was very apprehensive.
I think everybody was.
Because Rick and Morty is pretty cynical, and I don't need cynical, snarky Star Trek. So I was very pleasantly surprised with how Lower Decks turned out. I loved it. I signed up for the T-shirt club and got 11 Lower Decks T-shirts coming in the mail.
What?
So
Holy
I'm
smokes.
all set on Lower Decks T-shirts right now.
Wow, that's amazing.
I really wish I was wearing one of them right
now.
Yeah,
I had that one and this one in my hand, and I went with the Dragon Con.
Okay, that's fine.
But
I'm wearing Star Wars. Sorry.
But no, it's I thought they've done a great job with Lower Decks, and the freedom the animation gives you, where you can just have an original series ship show up, or you can just have Landru turn. Sorry for spoilers. But you can have something from the 1960s turned back up, and it looks the same.
Yeah, exactly. Looking forward a little bit to what I think is going to be next year, Star Trek Prodigy.
Yeah,
the next animated show, which it was announced a month or so ago, would be featuring Kate Mulgrew.
Yeah.
I'm very excited about that.
My theory now, based on that, they really focused in on the Voyager J thing, and that's 11 generations of adventures I'd love to see. Is it going to be Star Trek Prodigy on one of the Voyagers? I'm wondering. Tune in to Nickelodeon.
Right. Okay, so thank you guys very, very much for joining me for this hour, talking about one of my favorite topics. And we will see you. I'll see you guys, and we collectively will see, I hope, a whole lot of other people in January for Earth Station Trek.
Coming soon.
And next week, Thursday night, 9 o'clock, let me consult the magic mirror and find out who my guests are. I have Anthony Williams, Vandy Beth Glenn, and Daniel Pierce are going to be with us next week. So I hope you all will watch, because it's going to be a big one.
Awesome.
I can feel it. So you guys take care. Have a great night. All who are watching, thank you for being with us, and go out and do good things this week and spread love. So there you go. We are heading out. Take care, y'all.
Bye.